look, the little black square actually has H5P in it. What will change potentially for next academic year is the icon may go to that little blue one. So just to sort of pre-warn you, it may go from a black square to a blue square, but the new one should say H5P within it. H5P started as an external website, which can be found at h5p.org. It is completely free, and one of the really nice bits now is from Moodle 3.9, which is what we are upgrading to and building on over the summer. H5P has become not a plugin, but a fully ingrained part of Moodle now. So it's essentially become a resource that we will have available for free for the long-term future. What we have with this is, like I say, the ability to create stuff outside of Moodle, inside of Moodle, and it easily transfers between different sites as well. So again, if you create something in a Moodle site and want to use it either in another Moodle site or use it within another organization, maybe you're sort of creating resources to share between colleagues. The nice bit is you can download the H5P little package and share that around, and it's a simple question of importing it from somewhere else. So H5P, I've said it does a lot of things. You can see here at the moment they have 43 different pieces of content that you can create. Today is not going to be about going through what all of those do. I do a session on H5P where I basically go through what every single item does. What I wanted to do today was to try and get it to be a little bit more interactive and let everyone kind of see what H5P is actually all about. As I say, there are a whole range, and this is only down to F, and it goes all the way down to kind of Y in the alphabet. There is a whole range of different things that it will do. Just to kind of highlight very quickly one or two. So, for instance, the accordion that you can see at the back there, it's the first thing you get. The accordion is a really good way of kind of just like containing information. It doesn't allow you to images or videos, but you can have web links, so hyperlinks to information, and it tidies things up very nicely. The column in the next box is a really good way of creating a H5P activity with other H5P activities in. And again, not to get too confusing with it, but essentially, rather than having 5 different separate Moodle sort of H5P activities that you're trying to put together, the column will allow you to build them all as one H5P activity. But again, I will kind of demonstrate in a minute that you can do it sort of both ways. You can either have it as one H5P, or you can essentially hide the items within Moodle so the students don't see them directly, and you can then embed them through the text of a Moodle book or within a Moodle page, or even as a label if you want it to be seen directly when they come into the Moodle site. But as you can see, there are a lot of tools that you may or may not find useful. The other kind of bit to mention is that because it is a free open source bit of software and it's not something we developed sort of internally, you may sort of find activities in there that either A, Moodle already does, like being able to record an audio file, and again, we can do that through other tools anyway. And there are other bits and pieces in there which may seem a little childish. So like that find the word search game may seem a little bit kind of low end on the academic sort of spectrum, as it were. But like I say, because it's open to the world, it's being used in schools and used for other people as well. So that's where that kind of would come in. However, talking to someone yesterday, they actually use H5P word searches for sort of helping with certain terminology around their subject area. So actually what they'll do is they'll write all the text and give them other activities, and then they'll give them a word search, but essentially not define what words they're looking for. So they have to kind of look through the text to understand what the key words are that they might then find in a fun word search. So there are ways around it, depending on what it is you're doing. So today, what I wanted to show is one of the ones that I think lots of people really enjoy using because it does feel kind of very interactive and sort of very, very relevant depending on your subject. So again, like I say, what I wanted is to get everyone sort of hands-on with it today. So I can see a couple of questions coming in. We'll get to those in a minute. Mike, before I sort of move on to this, is there anything else you'd like to kind of add into how you've used H5P?
Yeah, certainly. So if you come along to our using the Moodle template sessions, we'll talk about how to best structure lecture recordings when you're delivering online. So we recommend that you break them down into 5 to 10 minute chunks so they're easier for students to consume and kind of stay organised with. And another benefit of breaking them down into those chunks within a Moodle book is that in between those recordings, you can put in knowledge check questions. And a great way to do that in an interactive way is with H5P activities. So you could have a 10-minute lecture section followed by a fill the blank exercise from H5P just to check that students have grasped the key concepts in that lecture, followed by another lecture recording. And there's also a really good tool within H5P called the documentation tool, which lets you set up a form in a page with spaces for students to reflect in. So you can pose reflective type questions. The students fill those in, and at the end they export that as a PDF document. So you can get them to submit them to you. So it's a really in-depth way of checking that students have really grasped the key concepts in your lecture. So H5P is really good for marrying up with lecture content online.
I just wanted to answer sort of two of the questions, or the two questions that have come into the chat. Where can I access H5P in Moodle? We'll be doing that in just a second, so you'll get hands-on in a Moodle site that I'm about to send you, and you can follow them on. I'll do it on screen with you, so you can follow along if you wish. If you use the dictation, does it transcribe it for me? No, it's the other way around. What you would do is you would upload an audio file, and the student then has to kind of transcribe. They are doing kind of like transcribing of a dictation, I believe. But again, feel free to have a go with it and check what I'm saying is true. But from what I've seen, I believe it's where they do the transcription. Yes, and yes, you could do that. You could make a full-on library activity within a column using a range of different H5P activities, which you could then give to individual academics, which you just have to load it as a H5P into their site. So yes, that would be one way around it. There are a few other ways of doing it. The column is one. There is a slight, like a PowerPoint-ish sort of slideshow as well. So it kind of is more structured. You may want to use something like that instead. There are a few different tools within H5P that do very similar things. So for instance, there is one called the flashcard, one called the dialogue card, and then there is a third, and they are all essentially the same versions or different versions of exactly the same concept. So although it says there are 43 different types of content, some of them are a little bit samey. But again, it depends on how visually you might want it to look, because they do look different, and how you want the student to actually use it. So what I'm going to do, and you should be able to see a little animated GIF, I'm going to copy and paste into the chat tool a web link. This web link, when you click it, what is it? There we go. It should sort of come up like this. You should be able to click Enroll Me at the bottom of the screen when you get to it, and you should then be in the Telltale's Fest. So if you copy and paste that link that I've put into the chat box, choose Enroll Me. We'll then all be in the same space. Now that's the presentation. Here is the website. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do an interactive video for you today, where again, what I'd like, if you want to, is you can follow along step by step, so you get a hands-on idea of what H5P feels like. But if you don't, obviously it's recorded, and you can follow along at another point, and just use this Moodle site to have a go with H5P. So when I'm in the Moodle site, I have editing as an option up here. So if I turn editing on, I now have add an activity or resource within my topic spaces, and I have 2 topic spaces. So I'm going to choose topic 1 to create my H5P. Again, feel free to do the same. So under the add an activity or resource, you'll see the whole list of different things that Moodle can do. As I mentioned, in this case, it's called interactive content, and it's the little black square that has H5P within it. So I'm going to select that one, and at the bottom, you should see it says add. So for those that have used Moodle before, normally within Moodle, you give it a title. At the moment, we don't give it a title. The title is added when we get down to the H5P content section. One of the new bits to show from the new template is there is now expected study time. So we can do a drop down here and give students guidance on how long this activity should take. So I know that the video I've uploaded for everyone today is about 2 minutes long. So actually, with a few questions in it, at most this is going to be about 10 minutes. So it's a very short little kind of knowledge check that the student can do. As I mentioned, you have create content with all the 43 types. If, however, someone had already created one and you needed to import it, you have the upload option here. And that's where I'd find the H5P file I'd been sent, and I could upload it, and it would just automatically populate and fill the text there. But again, I don't need to worry about that for now. I'm creating it from scratch. So I'm going to leave it with create content. As I say, the one I want to work through today is interactive video. Now, the bit I forgot to get is the link. So there is a URL inside the Moodle site, which, and again, what I'll do to save you time in case you have done what I did, it's the Toy Story 4 official teaser trailer. So 1.5 minutes of Toy Story fun. For those that have Disney Plus now and children, how many times have you watched Toy Story 4 in the last 3 months? I'm guessing a few. So interactive content. You can, if you want to find out about anything in H5P, whatever it may be, click details, and it won't load anything. It'll just tell you a little bit about it. You can, as Mike said, click the content demo and see an example of that. I'm just going to click use today. It's going to load for me. So, title. This is knowledge check on Toy Story. So what I'm going to do is copy out my URL, and in the add video section, I'm going to click in this square here where I could upload a video file. So if you have an MP4, you can upload it. However, if you have a video on Vimeo or YouTube, you're able to paste in the URL as I've done there. And it says it supports MP4, WebM, or OGV. If, like me, you've never heard of WebM or OGV, do not worry about them. They are just video file containers, but most people are used to MP4, and it's what things like Camtasia Studio will export as if you're creating your own video. Copyright infringement, good question. No, because what I'm not doing is I am not, so essentially, if this video got removed from YouTube, my H5P would stop working, which is why we're, like David Sharon was talking about yesterday, try and use sites that have the official verified tick, because it's their content to use. If I was to use a tool that allows me to download this from YouTube and then upload it, yes, that would be breaking copyright because I would be reproducing it. But essentially, if you use a video on YouTube, if it gets removed, it will then essentially in your site say this content is no longer available. So yes, David Sharon explained a sort of a bit more about this in detail, but no, with YouTube it is that horribly grey area of copyright which is, yes, there are videos on YouTube that are infringing copyright. However, there are a lot more takedowns these days, which is where if you can use an official verified site like I have here from Pixar, it is available. This won't die, and I'll be able to have my activity up and running.
Tom, just while you're on videos, is it possible to embed a box of broadcast clip within H5P?
No, because it's behind a firewall essentially. Because they need to log into that. I've tried using the link that you get from it, and you can't add that in. So no, you can't add that in. You need the video file itself, so an MP4, which again comes to if you've created the content. Again, for instance, I think the nursing teams and like the dentistry teams are filming like process videos at the moment in the labs. What they will do is upload those video files themselves that they've created and add kind of questions and activities over a video they've created. So they own the video file, they own the copyright and can use it. As I say, using external ones like Vimeo or YouTube rely heavily on the content that you're using being from a verified place, just so that if the video gets pulled, the resource doesn't become redundant. Obviously, being that this is not just uploading a video, you're actually spending time creating something, it's even more pertinent to try and maintain that verified check from the user, because again, you could use something from anywhere on YouTube, but you may have that worry of it being pulled down if it's by Joe Blog 73. So
Great stuff.
you also can add copyright information here. So if I edit the copyright, what I can do is say Toy Story for trailer, author Pixar, years was about 2019, source, again I could get the Pixar website up, license, I'm not quite sure what YouTube would come under for that, because it's not officially Creative Commons. It would be copyright materials. I'm now going to go to my interactions. So it adds in the YouTube video into the H5P framework. In terms of accessibility, I'm not 100% sure. Do you know, Mike?
I'm just having a look now. So if you keep going, I'll
Sorry, thank you. So basically, here's the video. I can click play and it'll play through the video, and you can see on the timeline where we are. What we have are all these different kind of activities that we could add. So a label, I choose that, overlays this. So display from 0 to, and again, because I'm going to pause the video, I only need it to be there for 1 second, because the video paused, they'll read whatever I write in the label. So in this bit here, welcome to this interactive video. Please, watch this and undertake tasks. So I click done when I'm happy with that. So I then have a label. I can put that anywhere on screen that I want it. Let's put it above Buzz's head. And again, you can transform it to where you want it to go, edit it, make a copy. Because there are layers on the video, if you have more than one thing, you can choose where they appear, sort of center the back, center the front, and remove. But I'm just going to leave that there. It'll only last a second, but because it's pausing the video, it'll give people time to read it. So you can see there, that's been 1 second. Get rid of your adverts. That was a second, and it's disappeared. Text would allow me to just add text over it. And you can choose to have it as a button or a poster. And what that means is if it's a button, it'll say this is text, but this is text about Disney. Right. If it's a poster, it will essentially appear just like the label did earlier on. Again, I don't need it to be more than a second because I'm pausing the video. So this text is about Disney. I can then, again, keep going through bits. So again, what I might want to do is add a link. So Pixar, www. And again, I don't know if this is right, so apologies if it goes to some random website. I can choose the background color. I'll leave it as transparent. That's fine. There's going to be a box shadow. And so there's a link to Pixar there that people could click. Now, how long did that stay on for? There we go. Again, it stays on far too long. I'm going to change it to 0.5 and pause the video. It's now displayed. And what you can start seeing is little dots on the timeline where I've actually added in the activities. I could add an image. Again, I'd need to find an image, and this is where it would become a copyright issue more than the YouTube video does. If I search for Woody Toy Story now, these images aren't necessarily copyright cleared. These are just images I found. Again, I can do an advanced search on that, where I'd look for any copyright and all the rest of it. Free to use and share. So these ones apparently are on Flickr, and where they've taken the photo, they've put the copyright as Creative Commons. It does become a grey area, obviously, with content that is owned by people like Pixar. They own the rights to the image of Woody, but someone else has taken the photo. So again, I'm going to leave that one just because I don't feel confident enough. So actually, I don't want to add an image in here. So I'm going to click delete. But what I can do is add in different activities. So statements, single choice questions, multiple choice questions, draw false statements, fill in the blanks, a drag and drop activity, mark the words, drag the text, crossroads, and a navigation hotspot. What a crossroad. Oh, yes, Mike, sorry.
I was just going to say, as you're going through those interaction types, Shelley Ann's got a question. Shelley Asher's got a question about whether you can embed videos of you talking about the video, so giving a commentary to the video you're watching. I wasn't sure if you could do that in H5P, but you can do it in. You could do it in Panopto by inserting videos in splits.
Yes, you can't do it directly. There's no kind of direct bit, but you could do a link to another video, so you could link off to you commentating on that. The other bit you could do, but this becomes a lot more complicated, so probably not what you'd want to do. What the crossroad allows you to do, if I add that one, is you can have text that would say, like, so I could have for an explanation for, or not even for my explanation. Excuse my spelling. Please click here to continue on in doing me. So I'd need to know how that the time frame. So again, if I know that I was at 0.4 seconds, so it'd be 0 minutes colon 0.4 seconds. But I may have at the end of the video, so let's say 0.155, I may have a bit of me speaking. So what you do is it's basically jumping you to that point in the video, so you can navigate around the video. One of the one of the ways I've seen this used, and again, this was very invested, so I'm not expecting anyone to do it, but imagine you have a choose your own adventure story like you used to do with a book, but you do it with a single video. If you watch the video, it makes no sense because it's all out of sequence and out of order. It's just lots of different options. But you use something like this where you click it and it jumps to the right bit of video and suddenly it makes sense because you're going between the video and doing that. Now, like I say, that is a very invested kind of route to take, and you'd need to have a lot of planning and preparation to know your time codes, to have shot the multiple stories, and have that kind of thing. I think that is a very, very extreme example of how you might use this. This is a much more simple version of that. Yes.
That's a really good example for scenario-based learning environments. So I've spoken to academics before that the role play situations. So an area nurse going to someone's house and the choices you make in terms of entering the property and making sure you're safe and you have a safe exit, etc., etc. If you something like that is quite, you know, it is quite invested in the real world. So if you invest the time to record that and then use those points to jump through the video, that'd be really quite valuable.
Yeah, exactly. There is also in H5P and in the Moodle side of things, there is the Moodle lesson tool, the H5P. Oh, it's a beta one. I can't remember what it's called. That's going to frustrate me. Branching scenario. Fairly simple title, really. You'd have thought. But yeah, so the branching scenario does the same kind of example there as well, where, as Mike said, what they did was they filmed lots of different videos, but they were all separate videos that they hosted on YouTube in this case. But again, you could probably do it internally. And when it got to a certain point in the video, it had exactly like Mike said, a different set of choices. And what it did was then give explanation of why that choice was good or bad and what you may do differently. So it's two different ways of working it. What's quite nice here is it's gone go to contains an invalid time code. It knows the video isn't 1:55 long, so you can it'll help you if you are using the wrong times.
Just to go back to Shelley's original question, I think you could add that context just with those text box overlays, because that's really what you're doing. You're giving context to and expanding more on points within the videos. So even though you couldn't do it with a video very easily, you could put an overlay saying that the video pauses and you add more detail to it.
Yeah, and the other way of approaching it would be that say right. So here's a great example. If you use a statement, let's do it as a poster. So what you would do is to kind of get them to think about the context. It might be let's see, introductions. Please list of statements here. So if I do the first statement is correct. So Tom Hanks again, please do excuse my typing. So my next statement then is going to be Alan. Into story. So I can add as many statements as I want within this. You know what? Good sheet. I can now add a next statement. So and you keep going through and add. And so what you're doing is adding kind of a selection of choices that again help them solidify that context that Shelley may have been talking about. It depends, obviously, what you be explaining in that particular overlaid video, but you could use a certain other range of tools, like Mike mentioned, that would still allow sort of the same dissemination of knowledge. It's just approaching it in a different way. So if I could keep adding statements, and I can have more than 2 statements per bit, but I'm going to leave it there. Oh, didn't mean to do that, sorry. Yes. And click done. So I can now move this around screen, make it fit to the right size. So again, make it look fairly central. If I edit that, I'm just going to check my time again. So it pauses the video, so it doesn't need to pause, but have it over for 10 seconds. I might just do it for 2. And as you can see with this, that's what a poster would look like. It puts it over the one. If it was a label, it would be a clickable little icon that would then expand to this. So that was a statement. A single choice set allows me to add a range of questions. Multiple choice. Let's have a multiple choice question. We're going to do this one. Another 2 seconds. Pause the video. We're going to have it as a poster again. Questions. Again, just to check my knowledge. Toy Story, I think, was 1995. Oh, look at that, 1995. So 1995, I mark that as correct. I can also then add any hint text or feedback for the student once they select correct answer. 6. So again, I can move it around, change how big it may be. I want it to be as neat as possible, so I think that's fine there. And I go through the video, keep adding in activities. Now, I wouldn't probably add as many activities within one video as I am doing in the space of a 1.5 minute teaser trailer. Obviously, I am trying to demonstrate this as an example, but what you can do is add in throughout a video that you're demonstrating bits like Mike mentioned to check the core understanding throughout the subject that relates to the video. And again, you can have it 2 or 3 times throughout that. You may occasionally need it to be slightly more. You may very well want it to be slightly less. And the nice bit is all of these tools are available within H5P as well. These are all H5P tools that you can create on their own. So you don't have to put them over a video, but I think it's really clever that they've kind of a lot of the time put these bits together to make it a dynamic experience for a student, depending on what kind of knowledge check you're going to be doing at that point. So again, scroll through the video. The last one I will do is fill in the blanks. There's a button. I'm going to pause the video again. And then within my fill in the blanks, what you do is you basically type and you do an asterisk for the missing word. So I do Mr. Potato Head. You can do alternative answers with a /, and you may add tips. So if I do colon, in front of the tip. Done. So there we go. Now, there is you don't have to do the last bit, but you can, which is a summary task. So if you go to the end, you can add in, again, a list of statements in this case, that would just be a good kind of roundup of everything they've done previously. So I'm just going to call this summary. Choose the correct statement. First one is correct, so again, to save my typing. I could add more statements, but I don't need to. And you can choose display at how long before the end, so 3 seconds before the end of the video, that's fine. Now within Moodle, you have the display options bit. The display action bar and frame is kind of the gray box that goes around the activity. If you don't display that, they can't choose to download it and they won't be able to see the copyright because that is where it is essentially housed. If you do display it, you'll also be able to embed it, which is the bit we were talking about. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change my common module settings here to have it make available but not shown on course page. So what I'm going to do is show you how you can, as Mike mentioned, use a H5P activity within a Moodle book as a knowledge check activity through the text. However, you can very easily just leave it as show on course page and the student will see it, click it and do the activity. So if I do save and display for now. I've not chosen to allow download, so essentially there won't be the option to download the video. What I can do is edit this resource at any time, tick that button on, and it'll just add it in. It's essentially hiding it. It doesn't stop me doing it later. So there is my video. Now at the bottom, you've got reuse, rights of use, so that's the copyright information that I filled in at the top. And I've got embed. So if I can click embed here and copy out that iframe information. Oh, it's nice to see some people following along too. Thank you. It worked. Add an activity or resource. So in this case, I'm going to scroll down to the resources at the bottom of that box and choose book. Add. We'll call it a book. This in total might take them 90 minutes to do, and do save and display. Chapter title. So this is info. So that might be just text and information setting up what you're going to be learning from that week. It may be a video. I'm now going to add in my H5P activity. So I'm going to do, just call it video activity. What I'm going to do in the title, because they won't see how long it's expected to take, I might just do 10 minutes in there so that they know that it'll take 10 minutes and it will display in the table of contents. Now, as I was mentioning before, not everyone can be as wonderful as Mike in learning what all the code means. The good bit is we've copied the embed code. In a blank space, I just click the down show hide advanced button, choose the HTML editor, ignore everything that's there and just paste it in. You don't need to know what any of that means because I sure as heck don't. I'm just going to click save changes. And it automatically adds that video in. And again, the student can make it full screen if they want. So when they go through the video, they click play. So it's paused. Welcome to the interactive video. Please watch and undertake this task. They click play again. This text is about Disney. This is the Disney logo. Disney bought Pixar back in 1998. Luckily, it does go to the Pixar Animation Studios. That could have been embarrassing. Please select those that are correct. So it's muddled them up, but I know that Tom Hanks plays Woody in Toy Story. Oh no, it wasn't. It was created by Pixar. So I choose the right one. There you go. And I can continue on. And it starts carrying on from where I left off with creating the resources. Toy Story was first released in 1995. Check that. Yep, congratulations. Please fill in the missing words. So the student will click the item. That was Mr. Potato Head Toy Story. And it tells me how many I've answered, and they get their completion tracking, which does go to the Moodle Gradebook as well. So again, it will record their what they do and their answers. What you can't do is lock. So like with a Moodle quiz, for instance, you could get them to take a quiz multiple times, but capture their highest grade or first grade or whatever it might be. With this, if they redo the activity, they can get it to be 100%, which is why it suits it more towards the knowledge check rather than being a sort of summative activity. Mike, yes, sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say we've had a few questions about grades. So does it? My understanding is it just passes the overall grade rather than the individual question scores to the gradebook. Is that right?
In this, I believe it will. Let's have a look. Yes, it'll be for the entire activity. So if I go to the gradebook, here are all the different ones. So as you can see, no results available. So yeah, I believe it won't do for each question. It will do it for the entire for the activity because each question doesn't have its own item in the gradebook, just the activity of the video did. So again, if you were to use a column that was made up of 5 different activities, they wouldn't be graded on each 5 of those. They'd be graded on the column itself. If you want them to be graded on each of the bits that are made up of the column, you would need to create them as separate individual resources. But again, just like I did within this, what you could do is you could use the Moodle book to build up
Structure.
all of those in and either add them on one page or have them across pages, dot them between the text within the information, and that would then allow for each one to be graded. And again, you can get quite clever, but we're not going to worry about it today. But you could use a category within the gradebook and basically group certain activities together. So you could get them to do 5 activities that it would then grade as one, but arguably that's what you'd be doing in a column as well. So you can do it a lot of different ways, and I think that comes to have a conversation with people like myself, Mike, the rest of the Act Dev and Tell team, and we can try and help fit the right question you're asking to what you would want to do here.
Yeah. Just following on from that, Anne Warden was talking about grades in that for formative activities when you don't really want to grade, so the grade is automatically passed the gradebook, but you should go into the gradebook and hide it. There's an option in there to hide that activity. So if you don't want to grade, you can switch that off quite easily.
And equally, by the fact it's being passed to the gradebook doesn't mean the academic has to look at it. What it does is demonstrate to the student that they've got half their marks right, and shows them where they may need to pick things up. But you're not marking it in a summative way. So again, it will just sit in the gradebook on its own and not be kind of considered for any other part of their grade. It is just a knowledge check. I think you can. I just go into how much was mine? Knowledge check. There it is. So if I everyone's taking over my video. It's gone crazy. I believe on some of them you can actually set them to have a 0 grade as well. But obviously with everyone using mine, it's got a bit confusing of where I'm up to. But yes, I think you can. Again, and you could set the maximum grade to be 0. So even if it does stuff, it won't actually then. Let me see if it will save as a 0 grade. Yeah, so you could save it in the grade within Moodle. You set it to a 0 grade, so although it's scoring within the system, it won't pass any grade into the Moodle side of it either. So what was the embed step about? So basically, I have. Let's try and tidy it up a little bit. I have my Moodle book here, which is what I want the student to see. Now, if I turn on student viewing mode, so I'll switch my role to be a student. Now, we know that there is a whole load of other activities here that I can't see. What I can do is set one of my activities. I'll return to my normal role. We'll say that. So available but not shown on course page. So this activity here is available to a student through the URL or by being embedded. So when I open up the activity and choose embed, this code up here allows me to put that somewhere else in Moodle. I copy that. So within my Moodle book again, I'm going to turn my editing back on, add another page. So at the end here, we can see the HTML code. So again, if you're confident doing this, do. If not, please speak to us or your online course developer. They can help with this kind of activity. If you've made the H5P, they will be able to help you with the embedding side of things. But essentially, what I'm pasting in here is the code that allows me to. It's kind of like when you put a YouTube video in your Moodle site. Essentially, it's not copying that YouTube video. What it's doing is kind of creating a tunnel between Moodle and YouTube. And like I say, if the YouTube video gets taken down, Moodle won't still have a copy of it because it's looking at a reference point. It's just making it look and appear as if it's within this. So within the H5P thing, what I've done is made the activity that now sits within inside here, but it's hidden on within the topic space. So what I could do is I can hide everything but the book, but embed things within that book so that what will happen is the student still gets to do the activities, but their topic space doesn't look like ours. Their topic space will look much tidier because all of the activities are hidden to them, but available through this hour-and-a-half book, and they can do it in different sections and chapters, excuse me, as they're going along. I'm conscious of time, and I think that's about all we have left for now. Is there anything else, any major questions, Mike, that you've seen, or is there anyone would like to ask?
I think we've answered most of those. I just wanted to say that we'll soon have access to Panopto, which lets you do a lot of similar things that Tom's identified with the interactive video. But importantly, you can record your own videos directly into Panopto. You can upload them as well, but it will allow you to split videos and add interactions in a similar way. So it'll be really handy for when you're recording your own lectures to actually add those in Moodle very easily. So what Tom's highlighted here really is using an external video and adding context to it, but you can do it with your own videos as well. So.
And the good bit about Panopto as well is there will be, I believe, an auto kind of captioning part to that.
Yes.
So again, even if you're not doing any of the H5P interactivity or doing anything like that, any video that you create within Panopto should automatically caption. Now, it may not be 100% correct, and we do recommend you check that video for any inconsistencies or errors that you can then again tidy up within the Panopto system. But and I believe there's a session on Panopto this week at some point. But essentially, as Mike says, what it will do is allow you to create a video within the Panopto environment very quickly, very simply, and it's your own content. Again, if you're worried about copyright issues.
I'd also say that the documentation on H5P is excellent. So if you go to h5p.org and browse the examples and download sections, you can see the different types of question. You'll often find, well, in each of those, you'll find the tutorial link, which will take you through the steps of creating your own questions, including example media that they created for you as well. So it really is very, very straightforward.
Mike, maybe you can answer this one from Gavin. Do all links continue to work following each Moodle rollover? I think they do for H5P.
They do, yeah.
Especially if you're using a YouTube video, because that link has nothing to do with Moodle. So
yes, I believe they do. So we're coming to the end of this session. Then thank you very much for taking part. I think most people have been. I found it quite useful. So the next sessions are building online communities in Moodle with Dr. Stuart Sims, and introductions to advanced teaching in Moodle from Dr. Axel Philippon. So if you ignore any calendar invites you have for those events and go via the Google site for this festival, you'll easily get into those sessions. Thank you very much, and thanks very much to Tom.
Thank you very much, Mike. Thank you, everybody. What I'll do in the chat very quickly, there you go, the festival for today.
Great stuff.
And let you jump straight to your next session.
And stop the